Good evening. At this time, I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for May 6, 2024. For viewers watching at home, some members of the public may be participating by video conference or teleconference. Would you all please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? The Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ferris?
Here.
Commissioner Tyler Kettlehut?
Here.
Commissioner Link is absent. Commissioner McMahon?
Here.
Chair Lanson?
Here. Tonight we are delighted to have our Deputy Community Development Director, Fabiola Melliker, with us. Are there any written comments, announcements, or continuances?
No additional correspondence was received for the project tonight. Thank you.
Okay, going on to item 5, do we have any general comments?
No.
All right, we'll skip the public comment section and go to item 6, which is the consent calendar. We have the consent calendar from the minutes of April 22nd, 2024. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any comments or a motion? Commissioner Ferris?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Any other comments? Please prepare us for a vote.
Commissioner Ferris?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler Kettlehut?
Yes.
Commissioner McMahon?
Yes.
Chair Lanson?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Link absent.
Great. Now we will get to our public hearing. Secretary, would you please open the public hearing?
Hearing having been advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider Agenda Item 7A, Special Use Permit SUP 2023-70025, to allow an approximately 17,700 square foot fitness club, Planet Fitness to open and operate 24 hours daily within an existing retail space, former Rite Aid, and to authorize the shared and alternating use of 882 existing on-site parking spaces at the 18.5-acre shopping center, and find that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act CEQA guidelines pursuant to Section 15301A, existing facilities. The subject site is zoned Neighborhood Commercial C1, located at 3825 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard. The applicant is ROIC California LLC.
Thank you. I see that we have on behalf of staff, Senior Planner Kendall.
Yes, thank you. Chair and members of the Planning Commission, good evening. The project before you includes a request to approve a special use permit to allow an approximately 17,700 square foot fitness club, Planet Fitness, to open and operate 24 hours daily within an existing retail space at the former Rite Aid, and to authorize the shared and alternating use of 882 existing on-site parking spaces at the 18.5-acre shopping center, zoned Neighborhood Commercial, or C1, and to find the project to be exempt from CEQA. The project to modify the existing uses was submitted to the city on November 22nd of last year. On January 18th, a notice of the application was mailed to all property owners within 500 feet of the project site, in addition to all known interested parties, and a sign was posted on the property. The notice of hearing for this meeting was published and posted on April 22nd. To date, staff has not received any correspondence related to the proposed project, although one call to discuss parking issues at a property nearby was received. The subject property is located within the North Ranch Shopping Center, which is adjacent to a residential neighborhood on the north side and bounded by Westlake Boulevard and Thousand Oaks Boulevard on the east and south sides. The North Ranch Shopping Center includes a total of 146,464 square feet of commercial property, including retail, banking, fitness studios, and restaurant uses. These uses range in hours of operation from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m., with the majority operating during normal business and normal dinner or restaurant hours. The project site is located again at that North Ranch Shopping Center and is designated as commercial neighborhood within the General Plan 2045 land use element. This designation allows for a variety of neighborhood serving uses, including retail, personal services, and other activities designed to serve the daily needs of residents. The subject property is also designated as being within the Neighborhood Shopping Center, or C1 zone. The C1 zone allows health clubs, fitness studios, and gymnasiums over 10,000 square feet with the approval of an SUP by the Planning Commission. As the requested use provides a neighborhood serving business type and is allowed with the approval of the subject application, the project is consistent with the general plan and zoning designations. The applicant proposes converting the former 19,136 square foot Rite Aid retail space into a 24-hour fitness club called Planet Fitness. The exterior front facade of the existing building, as well as the existing rooftop equipment, will be updated to accommodate the proposed use. The interior will also be completely remodeled, including the demolition of the existing 1,436 square foot mezzanine level. The entry and exit to the facility will be through double doors on the front elevation. There are also rear doors, which provide emergency exits as well as pedestrian and staff exits that will be alarmed and equipped with panic hardware. Additionally, a video surveillance system will be installed that includes 360-degree views of the exercise area, the points of entry to the building, as well as the entrances to the men's and women's locker rooms. The cameras will be placed to capture accurate facial and clothing descriptions of each person entering and exiting these areas, and will be monitored by gym employees via monitors at the reception desk. The video surveillance feed will also be made available for review to the Thousand Oaks Police Department upon request. A minimum of 2 employees will also be on staff at all times. These employees will be trained to understand the safety rules of the gym and will also be given CPR AED training. The municipal code requires a fitness facility parking rate of 1 parking space for every 200 square feet of gross floor area in the activity area with fixed equipment, plus 1 space for every 250 square feet of other areas such as office, retail, and waiting areas. Based on the submitted floor plans and the parking demand calculation, the fitness club will have a total of 17,700 square feet with an activity area of 14,888 square feet leaving 2,812 square feet of other areas. The parking required by the municipal code, therefore, is 85 spaces. When added to the parking required by the existing businesses at the North Ranch Shopping Center, 1,013 spaces are required by the municipal code for the combined uses. According to the submitted plans, the subject property currently provides a total of 882 parking spaces. As such, with the inclusion of the proposed project and assuming no tenant vacancies, the North Ranch Shopping Center would theoretically be deficient by 131 spaces. However, different uses often experience individual peak parking demands at different hours of the day or days of the week or months of the year. Therefore, when various uses share a common parking supply, as is the case in a shopping center like North Ranch Shopping Center, the total number of spaces needed to support the collective whole is generally fewer than the parking required by the individual land uses. This is because they aren't all using the maximum amount of parking 100% of the time. For that reason, the municipal code specifically allows alternating use of parking facilities by businesses that have varying or different business hours within a shopping center, if the shopping center does not have enough parking spaces to meet the demand normally required by the municipal code, if justified by supporting materials such as a parking study. To support their request, the applicant submitted a parking assessment that includes an analysis of the existing conditions at the shopping center, existing parking demand through parking accumulation surveys, and projections of the future peak demand assuming full occupancy of the proposed of the gym and the shopping center itself. Based on the parking accumulation surveys conducted in October, the parking assessment made a forecast that the future peak parking demand for the shopping center would occur between 1 to 2 p.m. on a weekday, with a peak of 575 spaces used, and from 6 to 7 p.m. on a weekend with a demand of 495 spaces. The forecast, therefore, indicates that there would be around 307 to 387 unused spaces at the busiest times, depending on the weekday or weekend. Therefore, more spaces would also be available during non-peak times. Staff concludes that the request will not have a detrimental impact on the surrounding area, and with the inclusion of suggested conditions, meets the required municipal code findings to approve a special use permit to allow the gym use with the existing parking provided. It is staff's recommendation to find the project categorically exempt from CEQA and to adopt the resolution approving special use permit 2023-70025 based on the findings and subject to the conditions provided in your agenda packet. I am available for questions, as is the applicant team.
Thank you. Commissioner questions? Commissioner Kettelhut?
Thank you for your presentation. How many parking spaces did the former Rite Aid require, if you have that info?
15 more than the proposed use.
That was it? I just had a few. When I visited the property a few times, I noticed in back, which of course nobody ever knows there's spaces in back, but there was quite a few cars back there. Again, I don't know if you know, I can ask the applicant maybe. Is there something that the tenants are asked to have their employees park in the back to make sure that there was space available in the front?
I can't speak to the current tenants, although the applicant may be able to do so, and the applicant representing Planet Fitness has already indicated that they would be willing to do that too, although the number of staff is quite low for this use. In addition, there are 4 exit doors on that side of the building on where that parking is provided, including in that pass-through that goes right past this unit, and possibly the patrons of the gym could come in from that side as well.
And my only other, and this maybe is for the applicant as well, is looking at that back parking lot. Next door is the Do-It-Yourself Center, which has a very large, it has some spots back there that I don't think anybody knows that are there, and none were being used on the 3 occasions I was by. Obviously, a concern is to the extent that people park there might be some confusion, and Do-It-Yourself Center may not be happy about that kind of usage, but that obviously would be an implementation issue. The last thing I had is on the camera. That would be, I guess, is it taking a picture, video, as people come in and out? What kind of equipment would be used?
I'll let the applicant speak to that, but I believe it's video.
Okay, and that's something that would be made available in the event it's needed by the proper authorities then?
Right.
Okay. I have no other questions. Any other questions, commissioners? No? Seeing none, why don't we go to the applicant, which will have 15 minutes. My understanding is it's Robert Doran, which is no relation to our fine counsel here tonight. Mr. Doran, you'll have 15 minutes for you and your team.
It's Robert Doran. I'm with ROIC. We own the property. We've owned the property for about 8 years. I just want to introduce our team so that you know they're here and available for questions. Again, I'm with ROIC. I am Director of Development and Construction, and we own the property. Greg James is our architect in the project. Miguel Polito is a consultant for us at various properties. Grace is our parking consultant, and she's going to get up after I speak and give you a couple-minute presentation in regards to the parking demand study that we did. I'm going to defer to her in terms of parking. She's the expert. Then we have Dave and his team, and they're the Planet Fitness tenant. So I think we have good representation here. If any questions that come up, we should be able to answer your questions. Off the top of my head, in terms of the camera question, I'll defer to Dave since that's going to be his camera, and he should be able to address that. In terms of parking, employees trying to drive them to the back, we have a full-time property management group in-house, so we kind of handle parking as needed basis. Looking at this parking study, it appears to me that we're saying that there's 300 excess parking stalls, so I don't think parking will be a problem. But typically what we do, and we have many centers that have parking, call it a good problem to have, parking issues, because the centers are so busy for us. We own Warner Plaza down the freeway. That is a tight parking lot if you're familiar with that center. So we typically have our property management team get involved when they need to if parking is a problem. Then we'll start reaching out to tenants and implement a parking requirement for employees where we'll try to drive the employees to park in the back. I think this center facilitates parking in the back if need be. It's a safe community. And there is a corridor that comes through the back of the center where that parking is behind Planet Fitness you're referring to. So there's a common corridor that goes through the building. So I've already talked to Dave and his team about their employees coming through the back and parking at the back. So that will be helpful to free up those front parking stalls to patrons. We can also further put pressure, let's call it, on our other tenants to have their employees park at the back if parking becomes a problem. Again, I want to defer to Grace to address the parking, and I don't want to take up too much of her time because she has much better information than I do, but I'm here for any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead and have your next team member. I like how you introduced him like you were at a rock band, just making sure the entire band gets introduced. That was good. Please say your name and city of residence, please.
My name is Grace Turney. I'm with Linscott Law and Greenspan Engineers. I live in Pasadena. And so I am here to answer any questions that you may have about the parking study. And I'd be happy to run through just some of the highlights of our findings and sort of the process of the study, although staff did a great job in summarizing it. So we began our parking study by reviewing the municipal code, and we calculated that the site, including the proposed Planet Fitness, would require 1,013 parking spaces, which does exceed the on-site supply that's provided today of 882. And this is a theoretical deficit. When we apply the municipal code strictly, that treats every single use at the site as an independent standalone use, which is obviously not what's occurring at the site. And there is an opportunity for parking spaces to be used by more than one use throughout the day, rather than having each individual use have, as was very well summarized, peak parking all day. So based on our analysis, we do find that there's a theoretical deficit, but we also conducted an on-site survey to determine the actual parking utilization that's being experienced at the site. And based on those surveys, we are finding that the parking is about 54% utilized currently, and the entire center as of today is about 90% occupied. So the municipal code does call for more parking than would be required at the site, just without analyzing shared parking. But we did go through and do a shared parking analysis, which is it's a specific methodology that's published by the Urban Land Institute for shopping centers in order to account for this blend of uses and the way that they use the parking. And so it allows us to have a very consistent methodology to analyze the parking. And based on those findings, we found that, again, as was summarized in the staff report, the peak demand at the site would occur on a weekday at 1 p.m. And during that time, there would be a peak demand for the entire site of 575 parking spaces, which results in a surplus of over 300 parking spaces. So the site is overparked as of today, and putting in the Planet Fitness proposed use would not result in a deficit of parking at the site, and so therefore would not require any additional changes to the parking layout. So that's my very brief summary. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Is there any other part of your presentation for the applicant team? If so, do it now, and that way we can get all our questions if we have any out. All right, so my understanding is that's it. So you'll end your presentation unless we have questions? Just want to confirm that, okay. So I'll turn now to commissioner questions. I'm getting a lot of head nods. My question based beforehand was on the camera issue of, so sorry, Dave, you got to get up. You drove all the way out here, might as well come up and talk for a minute. Again, just say your name and city of residence.
Sure. My name's Dave Corin. We are the owning group of the Planet Fitness here. I'm from Manhattan Beach. To answer your question very briefly, is we do have cameras. Approximately 20 to 25 cameras we put in each location. They are videoing 24/7. We store those for up to 21 days, and we do provide those to the authorities in necessary situations. I think above and beyond the cameras, what makes the cameras so helpful is the fact that we photograph each person that becomes a member at Planet Fitness, so we can match up the picture of the member with any kind of camera activity. So therefore, we really have a name associated with a picture as well, so the authorities can really be benefited by the fact that we have both of those for identification purposes.
And I'm assuming that's an internal process that you know when they're actually using the facility.
Exactly.
All right, that's great. All right, that's all the questions I had for cameras. Commissioner McMahon?
I have a question, and it's purely curiosity. It has nothing to do with whether this gets approved or not. But do you have, in your place, do you have a defibrillator for the emergency?
Great question. Many years ago, let's call it about 10 years ago, that was really optional, and we did. We always put it in CPR and an AED in our facilities. We think that's truly important, not just to have the AED, but also to train each staff member on how to use it, because it doesn't do you a whole lot of good if you have it and no one knows how to use it. So it's a big emphasis for us. It's now become mandatory for facilities like ours over the last 3 to 5 years, but we've been an organization that's always done that proactively, and we make sure our staff knows how to use it, which is really, really important for us, because that is the way you do save somebody before medics can arrive.
Thank you.
That's great. That's great. Any other questions? I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any general public comments on this matter?
No, we do not.
Okay, I think at that point we go back to staff if they have any further response or comments.
No.
And then, again, going quickly, it would usually go back to the applicant for rebuttal. I'm assuming you have nothing further to add. Okay. So at that point, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open it up to a discussion or a motion. Commissioner Ferris?
Why don't we, I think this is a very straightforward application. Staff applicant have done a great job of providing the analysis. It's very straightforward, so I'm happy to make a motion that I move we adopt a resolution finding that the project qualifies for a categorical exemption under California Environmental Quality Act guidelines pursuant to Section 15301A, existing facilities, and approving special use permit SUP 2023-70025, allowing an approximately 17,700 square foot fitness club, Planet Fitness, to open and operate 24 hours daily within an existing retail space, and to authorize the share and alternating use of 882 existing on-site parking spaces based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval in the resolution.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments, commissioners? I would just say I think this is a great concept of strategic repurposing of a property, and that flexibility that our code does allow us in that context actually makes sense. So thank you for the application and for investing and being a part of our city. With that, please, Madam Secretary, prepare us for a vote.
Commissioner Ferris?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyler Kettlehut?
Yes.
Commissioner McMahon?
Yes.
Chair Lanson?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0, Commissioner Link absent.
Any aggrieved party who wishes to appeal the Planning Commission's decision may do so by filing an appeal with the Community Development Department within 10 days. That's the end of that matter. Item 8 is department reports. I see the word none, therefore I'm going to assume there aren't any. Number 9, commission comments and 1234 reports. I just had a quick comment. I was looking at a Forbes article that noticed that the city of Thousand Oaks was the safest city in the country due to a combination of strong community policing, strategies, and effective social programs have contributed to the rank of Thousand Oaks having a low crime rate and being one of the safest cities in the United States, which I thought was fantastic. That will go on to item 10, staff report. Ms. Melliker, are there any follow-up items, announcements, or upcoming issues?
Well, upcoming, on May 7th, City Council will have a public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Action Plan, as well as a proclamation for Building and Safety Month, and a consent calendar item for the housing element finding. On May 21st, Council will have a public hearing on the 500 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard project, which was the mixed project the Planning Commission recommended approval to City Council, and an environmental consultant contract amendment for DUDEC, and the consent calendar. On June 4th, there will be a second reading of the 500 East Thousand Oaks Boulevard project ordinance if it is approved on May 21st. 11B, no items are scheduled for this upcoming Planning Commission meeting of the May 20th. And that is it.
Thank you. So that does it for our Planning Commission night. We will adjourn and maybe see you at our next meeting on May 20th. Good night, Thousand Oaks.